can feel good about Hood. All right, we're just going to talk about the jam section of Harry Hood by the band Phish. It's a very beautiful, simple chord progression here. You got a D major, an A major, and a G major here. So just right off the bat, these are some cool chord formations. You got your D bar chord here. So the top half of it kind of can look like that. Sometimes it's nice to play that open E there. Gives it a different sound, not quite that high D there, but let that high E ring out on all those chords. So that's a cool inversion of D. That's a cool inversion of A there. And the same thing down here on the G. And so what's happening here, most of you probably know, is like here's a D chord, right? And as you slide that up, it becomes an E, F, G, there's your G, there's your A, right? And so D, A, G. You can also play it here, D, A, G, all the way down, open chords. So great. When I'm soloing on top of this, obviously it's in the key of D major. This is your 1 chord. Your A is your 5 chord. Your G is your 4 chord. So it's in the key of D major. So the D major scale is going to work. And that's a formation right there that I use a lot. And I suggest, learning the lower half and then learning the top half. And getting fluid with that. So this chord here, or this shape here, based off of this D major here, is a beautiful one as well. Learn the lower half, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then your 1 again, and then. So in theory, there's a lot of math going on, right? And every note sort of has a number that you can apply to it. In this case, the D being your 1 chord, and then in the scale, that D being your 1 note, your first note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then that repeats itself, as it goes up. So when I'm soloing and jamming on stuff, I become more aware of how those intervals sound. So like a 1 to a 2. That sound. Doom, doo, doo. And you can play that behind this all day. And that'll sound great. I got a loop here, and so you can kind of hear how that sounds. So that's the 1 and the 2, the 1 to the 2. And then what's the 1 to the 3 sound like? That's a beautiful sounding interval. And you can walk it up to the 4. So you're playing the 1 and the 4. And then the 1 and the 5. Back to the 4, to the 3, to 2. And you can kind of resolve there on that 1. So, going up to the 6, to the 7, the 1 and the 7 together are going to sound sort of dissonance because they're a half step away. But, in this chord progression, I love that natural occurring 7. So here's your 1, and then that 7, because that chord, the next chord falls hitting that natural 7 there when you go to the A. And then it goes down to the 6 in that G. So, for example, that's a beautiful sounding run. And the idea is to sort of train the ear to hear these intervals instead of just kind of knowing where they're at. It's great to know them, and it's great to understand them. You know, the 1, you got the 4 and the 5. Like that's usually what most people learn first because it's kind of the blues. You know, and then so 1, 4, 5. But you know, see the other ones in there too. See your 2, your 3, your 6, and your 7, and your 1. And of course that repeats up as you go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So I love this 7 here when I'm soloing over this Harry Hood chord progression. And so kind of a few things I'm looking at is the arpeggios. You know, you got your D major here, and you got this arpeggio. You can start it up here. And it's good to memorize these and see them, you know, see them. You know, you got your 1, 3, 5, 1, 5, 3, 1. And this is a major triad arpeggio. 3 notes. You're playing 3 notes in this chord, and then 3 notes individually is a scale, an arpeggio. But I'll just kind of hang on this higher registry here. You know, and I like to see those arpeggios, and then I like to see filling them in with the scale, right? You know, and that's without pivoting. So this is a cool little shape I love to use based off this chord formation here. You got your D, your 3 here, so you're skipping the 2, you know, because sort of to go to the 2, you always know it's there, but you kind of have to pivot down. You got to slide down a half step. So just quickly, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So you're skipping the 7 and the 2. So you got something like this, right? And just with those notes, with those 5 notes, 6 if you count this being, you know, repeated, you can play a lot of stuff, you know. And I get a 7th note here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not to be mistaken for this being the first note of the scale, 2nd note of the scale, 3rd note, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just saying the amount of notes that you actually can hit within here. Whoops. Is a really cool box, you know, and you can bend up. I love that one. So I'll hang out there a lot. And then when it goes to that that A, I'll slide to that natural 7 and hit that arpeggio there. So that's a A major arpeggio. And then just kind of slide that whole thing down, right, to this G. And then resolve on that D. Back to that D. So you get something like, you know, and then you can hit this D arpeggio here, which I love as well, sort of based off of this D major chord here. You got your 1, your 3, your 5, 1, 3, 5, whoops, up there your 1. So super helpful to learn the entire arpeggio and then be able to see chunks of it, you know. So like I'm just seeing that chunk there, right there, and this chunk for the G, A, D, whoops, to your A here, another arpeggio. Right there, A, to your G, to your D arpeggio here. And so that's just three different arpeggio formations that sort of overlap, right? You got the one, this one, that formation, D major, this formation, D major, you know, and then of course this one here. And the form factor, you know, you want to be careful with your form and aware of it. But for me, it's like learn it every which way you can, and be more considerate of the sound of the note, the quality of the sound, right? How it rings out and how they flow into each other. Yeah, that was a little choppy. Because sometimes I'll use my third finger here. You know, because a lot of times I'm just kind of basing it off that chord. So. And you know, that's kind of sloppy there. Or, you know, you're up here. Whoops. Like that. And the arpeggios are tricky. You know, it's tricky on the right hand picking to do it clean, so just slow. So there I was substituting, you know, the three there instead of up here. And you know, as you learn all the different formations of the arpeggios and all the different formations of the scales, and then you start to bridge them together and see chunks of them together and kind of jump between the two. Sort of what I'm thinking when I'm soloing. But ultimately, I really want to just be hearing the melody, like hearing some kind of melodic thing in my head and playing off that. Something like that. You maybe chunk down a little bit more than that, so it's only a few notes. You're like, something like that. I highly recommend, I tell a lot of my students to put on one of their favorite songs that they've heard, you know, hundreds of times, and play the vocal melody on your guitar, you know, because it's usually a single note, you know, play the lead vocal melody, and it's something you've heard many times, so you know the melody in your head. You're like, oh, I know what the melody is, and then putting it onto your guitar, you know, in real time while it's playing, you're playing along with it. That's a great exercise. I know Trey, in a bunch of his old interviews, would talk about that. He would do stuff like that. And it's been super helpful for me to develop my ability to, you know, hear a melody in my head and play it on the guitar, you know, instantaneously, or sort of, you know, let it kind of come through and just channel it, so to speak. So that's a great exercise. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking behind Harry Hood. I'm going to play that loop here, and I'm just going to kind of solo on top of it. And when I think of things, just pointers to say, I'll maybe make mention of it. Also, I teach guitar lessons on guitarlessonswithjosh.com, and I'm happy to go through, you know, this entire song, teach you all the parts, and, you know, help you with soloing on top of it. So, you know, I love teaching. So, all right, let's check this out, see what happens here. You know, hitting that high D there, that's sort of your anchor, right? It's where it kind of wants to resolve. And I'm really just hanging out on that D major box. I'm kind of bending. I love doing that, where it's like you bend up a little bit and let it fall down onto the note. That's a full bend. comes down to that D chord here. Now you're up to here, right? That kind of deep. There's that natural occurring 7. Not that much to it, kind of just staying within a lot of the same patterns and the same arpeggios and scales, and even melodies too. Like that, you can throw in, a passing note that's not in the scale, totally out. But other than that, I've pretty much stayed within the entire same 7 notes, It's only 7 notes. So yeah, if you see anything in there that you're like, oh, how you doing that? Comment on the thing, and I can maybe break it down for you, or schedule a lesson with me. GuitarLessonsWithJosh.com. I love teaching. Happy to tell you everything I know if it can help. I love seeing people get better at music. I love seeing people play music. I think it's one of the greatest outlets out there, and I can't support it enough or try to encourage people, all ages, to just have that creative outlet in some form or another. Anyways, I want to thank my sponsor here, LotDogApparel.com, I think is their website. Coming up with these clever shirts. But thanks for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube if you want to get notifications when I do these videos. I'm also on Instagram. It's Josh Pearson without an O at the end there. So it's JoshPearson. I'm on Facebook. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful day. Peace.